What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we're back with the new Dannyology Power 35 rankings. We come out with these every single week on Monday morning and give you guys our updated rankings of where we think these teams are. Another fantastic week college basketball, a few more upsets, not quite as many upsets as last week, but still a great week. Ever since we got a conference play, it has been amazing. Cannot wait for March Madness. Make sure you guys subscribe for all things college basketball here on the channel. Hit that like button if you guys enjoy, and let's go. All right, here we have the Week 11 Dannyology Poll Power 35 rankings, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, number one overall team, we still do have the UConn Huskies. 2-0 this week. Beat up Creighton this week at home. It was a campus game for UConn. They played fantastic. Really do look like, if not the best team in the nation, the second best team in the nation. To me, UConn and Purdue are 1A, 1B. Very, very close. But I gave UConn the edge since I gave it to them last week. They're going to stay put. They beat Creighton. Donovan Clingan is back and playing for the Huskies. They had a close one on the road against Nova, but they were able to hang on and get it done. I actually thought that they were going to lose to Nova. All these top teams, they play some road conference games. Those are very tough games, and Villanova is a tough team. So for UConn to survive, very, very impressed. Purdue playing pretty good basketball. Got upset last week to Nebraska on the road. Nebraska is a very good team. Those road conference games, very, very tough. This week, bounce back, 2-0 week, looking great, looking like one of the best teams in the country. For all those who just say, oh, it's Zach Edey and who else? It's Zach Edey and he's not even good, he's only tall. Watch the games. They have some really good players. Braden Smith's taken a step up this year. Really like Lance Jones. He is the glue guy for this team. Trey Kaufman-Wren's taken a step up. He's another big man down there with Zach Edey. When Zach Edey goes out, Trey Kaufman-Wren can come in and give them some very valuable minutes, and he can also spread the floor as well. So if you want to, you can play both of them on the court at the same time. So very, very valuable players on this Purdue team, and I like them a lot. I think UConn and Purdue are head and shoulders the best two teams in the country right now. Next up, we do have North Carolina staying put here at number 3. Looking very good, playing fantastic in conference play, and I think that is so impressive. I don't think that they've lost in ACC play yet, so they're on fire right now, on a big roll. They're up number 3, staying at number 3 like they were last week. Number 4, we do have Auburn, jumping up just one spot, but still from 5 to 4, playing awesome. Auburn, another team undefeated in conference play in the SEC. Beating up teams. They beat Ole Miss by like 30 points this week. Ole Miss was in my top 35 last week. That knocks them out. And yeah, Auburn, it just seems like anyone that they play right now, they are beating up really bad. They look fantastic. Great front court with Jalen Williams and Janai Broome. Great guards as well. I really like Auburn this year. Really, really like Auburn. Number 5, we do have Tennessee jumping up 3 spots. They look really, really good. Dalton Knecht, maybe the AP Player of the Year in college basketball this year. It would not surprise me. He is playing fantastic. I mean, I thought that he would be pretty good. He was an under-the-radar transfer, honestly. Like, there was not too much buzz about Dalton Knecht transferring, from Northern Colorado over to Tennessee, but he has made that jump to the SEC, to a Power 6 conference, and played fantastic. I'm pretty sure he's had 2 35-plus point games over the past couple of weeks. Like, absolutely killing it, man. Tennessee up to number 5. Number 6, jumping back into the top 10, back to number 6, we do have Houston. They had a really rude awakening to Big 12 conference play as they dropped their first 2 conference games, but now they bounce back, get 2 very, very good Big 12 wins this week, 2-0 week, and beat up on Texas Tech. When Houston's at home, they can beat up. I know my team, West Virginia, went into Houston, got destroyed. West Virginia, not necessarily a great team, but we saw what they just did to Kansas, so you can't overlook anyone in the Big 12. Houston didn't do that with them, but then they beat up Texas Tech. Texas Tech was the top 15 team for me last week. And Houston won by, I think, 25, 30 points at home. Looked very good. And, yeah, They're back up here at number 6. Number 7, we do have Kentucky. Kentucky jumping up 4 spots. Another team looking really good in conference play. Their offense is one of the best offenses in college basketball. They have a lot of depth, a lot of good freshmen, and I like this Kentucky team a lot. They're playing great. I love their depth and their offense. Cannot express that enough. Number 8, dropping down 4 spots. You could argue Kansas could possibly drop down more, but I feel like this is a fair spot for them. Yes, they did just lose to West Virginia on the road, which is my favorite team. And West Virginia is probably the worst team in the Big 12. I mean, they're starting to gain some momentum now, so them or Oklahoma State are the worst team, right? Or Central Florida possibly, which Kansas did lose to on the road as well. So, yeah, those losses are bad, but then you look at teams like Arizona, also lost to some bad teams like Stanford. I feel like they should be around this range. If you want to argue Kansas at 10 right now, I would be fine with it, but I feel like 8 is a fine spot. Anywhere from 8 to like 12 is where Kansas should be, but 8 is definitely the highest I think that they deserve right now. But I feel like they are such a good team. They have really good wins this year over Kentucky, over Tennessee. And I feel like those wins are better than Arizona's, where Arizona has a good win over like Duke on the road, which is a very, very good win. But I feel like Kansas wins are better, even though they have 2 pretty bad losses over the past few weeks. If they lose again, they're going to drop pretty far, though. But I think Kansas is still a very good team. They did go 1-1 on the week, so it's not like they went 0-2, and we still have them here at number 8. Number 9, we do have Arizona jumping up 3 spots back into the top 10. They go, looking very good, beat up on USC, 2-0 on the week. They're a team that I feel is built for March Madness. They look really good. I'm a big Kylan Boswell fan. I think that he's awesome. We have seen that big man actually play a huge factor in March Madness runs. I think Omar Ballo is a very good big. Caleb Love, of course. They got some hoopers, man. Jaden Bradley, 6-man, very good. I really like this Arizona team. They're back in the top 10. Number 10, we do have Wisconsin dropping 1 spot. Makes sense. I mean, Arizona did beat up on Wisconsin pretty bad earlier in the year, and that's actually probably Arizona's best win. That one, and then the road win at Duke. 2 very, very solid wins for Arizona, and that's the thing about them. They play very good against top-level competition. I wish they would have played somebody else like a UConn, Purdue, North Carolina. I want to see Arizona face one of those teams really, really bad, or even like a Houston. That would be great. But right now, they're down here at number 9, jumping back into the top 10, and Wisconsin's here at number 10. They had 1-1 week, but that is only their first loss in the Big Ten, and it was a road game. I know it was against Penn State, which isn't a very good team, but, you know, you're going to lose some road games in conference play. It happens, and honestly, with all the inconsistency that happens in the Big Ten especially, I mean, in any conference on the road games, but especially in the Big Ten, for Wisconsin to only have their first conference loss here, I didn't want to knock them too bad. They only dropped 1 spot, staying in the top 10. Now, if they lose again this upcoming week, which I could see happening, they could drop pretty far, definitely out of the top 15. But we'll see. I still think, you know, they're a pretty hot team right now. That's their first league loss. Let's see if they can bounce back. Next up, we got Marquette playing very, very good. 2 Big East wins. You know, they've been struggling. Sean Jones tore his ACL, which was a key player for them off the bench. But they're playing better again like they were at the beginning of the season. Jumping up 6 spots. If they didn't have another 2-0 week, they would undoubtedly be back in the top 10. Kind of makes sense there. Wisconsin did beat Marquette earlier in the year. I feel like they're on a similar level right now. Big-time rival schools. Marquette here at 11. Number 12, we do have Illinois jumping up 8 spots. Not only did they go 2-0 on the week in Big Ten play, and doing so very good, especially a road win at Rutgers, convincingly. That's not an easy place to play. Terrence Shannon Jr. is back, so love to see that. This Illinois team had so much potential. He went out, and I was like, oh, dang, that really sucks for them, but he's back. Came off the bench, but still played a lot of minutes against Rutgers. Looked pretty good. Was missing some threes, but he still put up like 15 points or so, somewhere in that range. Looked pretty good. They're going to get him back in it, and Illinois definitely looking like a top 3 team in the Big Ten, along with Wisconsin and Purdue. Next up, we got Oklahoma here at number 13, jumping up 6 spots. They had a little rough patch in the Big 12, a lot like Houston did, but then they bounced back. They had a 2-0 week this week. Looking pretty good. They're back up here at number 13. Number 14, we do have Dayton. Keep on killing it in the A10 conference. Undefeated in league play, 15-2 on the year. The Dayton Flyers are playing outstanding. They're up here to number 14. Number 15, we do have the Duke Blue Devils taking a really bad loss at home to Pitt. And Pitt is a better team than West Virginia, as Pitt did beat West Virginia, but at least Kansas's loss was on the road. For Duke to lose to Pitt at home, that's a bad loss. Duke is going to have to bounce back from that. And yeah, so is Kansas. If Duke loses again next week, if Kansas loses again next week, they are going to drop significantly, for sure. Number 16, we do have Baylor. Baylor dropping 10 spots. One of those teams that went 0-2 this week. So they dropped quite a bit for me. I honestly could have dropped them lower. I feel like this is the range they should be in. They're around that. They did lose to Duke, so that kind of makes sense. I feel like they're on Texas Tech's level, on Creighton's level, Seton Hall, BYU. They're in that range. I feel like comfortable with them here at 16. Dropping 10 spots makes a lot of sense. They did lose to Texas, Kansas State, some good teams, but definitely he should have split those, at least beat Texas. Kansas State on the road in a very close game, understandable. Kansas State's a very good team. That's a tough atmosphere. But to lose to Texas, that's a tough one, man. That is a tough one. Texas, I was high on preseason, but they're not playing that great right now. They might turn it around, but they are one of the most unlikable teams in the country right now this year, at least to me. I hate Texas. I already normally hate Texas football, basketball, anything, but the way Rodney Terry handled that loss to Central Florida, absolutely awful. Made me really hate this Texas team. And then he was jumping up and down when they beat Baylor. Come on, man. He's a clown. Come on. Texas Tech here at number 17, dropping down 3 spots, 1-1 on the week. They did take a loss pretty bad to Houston, but that Houston team is my number 6 team in the country. Even though they lost pretty bad on the road, still went 1-1 on the week, dropping 3 spots here. Creighton staying at 18 after a triple overtime win over Seton Hall and a loss to UConn. I feel like 18, I feel like this is the right spot for them. Yeah, they lost one, but they lost to my number 1 team in the country. And then they won a very entertaining triple overtime thriller against Seton Hall, which was just a fantastic game. They closed it out, got it done. They're staying here at 18. And right behind them, the loser of that triple overtime game, another team that went 1-1 on the week in Big East play, their loss being in triple overtime to Creighton. Not necessarily a horrible loss. Seton Hall has been one of the hottest teams in the country. Before that, still is, in my opinion. Jumping up 2 spots, actually, even though they took 1 loss on the week. And they're up here in the top 20 at number 19. I mean, I feel like Seton Hall should not drop for that. They played a fantastic game. They've been hooping lately. I feel good with Seton Hall here at 19. Number 20, we do have BYU, actually jumping up 3 spots, which is kind of surprising. But I feel like them, and along with Iowa State, which we'll go and talk about them together, because, BYU, Iowa State, I feel like they're on a similar level. BYU did beat Iowa State this year, but both these teams went 1-1 in league play. And I think just how good the Big 12 is kind of elevate these teams up a little bit more spots, along with a lot of people around them losing games as well. So BYU's up 3 spots to number 20. Iowa State up 5 spots to number 21. I feel like they're very, very similar teams right now, coming in here at 20 and 21. Number 22, our biggest faller of the week, we do have the Memphis Tigers. 0-2 on the week. And who did they lose to? South Florida, the South Florida Bulls, and Tulane. Tulane's a pretty decent team. I mean, Memphis should not be losing to them, but to lose to South Florida and Tulane in the same week, that's tough, man. You got to drop for me. They were my number, 7 team in the country, dropping all the way down to 22. I see some people dropping them all the way out of the top 25, out of their top 30s. I'm not going to pull the trigger on that too much. Like, I still think Memphis is a fantastic team. Rough week for them. Let's see if they can bounce back. If not, they will keep dropping for me and drop fast. If they going on a big losing streak is the easiest way to drop out of my rankings. I'm going to give Memphis a chance to bounce back here. Still in the top 25 here at 22. Number 23, we do have FAU. 2-0 week, a close game they had this week. And, still doesn't look like that FAU team that I thought they'd be this year. But they went 2-0 this week. We'll see what they can do. Cannot wait for Memphis and FAU to play each other in a conference game. It's going to be a huge one. It's going to affect these rankings a ton when they do. Cannot wait for it. But they're up 4 spots this week. They did go 2-0. Let's see if they can get on a win streak and get back to that FAU team. We all know that they can be the team that beat Arizona this year. The team that went to the Final Four last year. Let's see if they can do it. Next up, we got 24, Utah State. 1-1 on the week with a loss to New Mexico. Maybe dropped them a little bit too far here, 9 spots. But I feel like this is the range for them. And as you guys can see, I have all 4 of my Mountain West teams that I have ranked right here beside each other because it is close. It is so close between these teams right now. And yeah, Utah State dropping 9 spots here at 24. Next up, 25, we have San Diego State staying put at 25, same as last week. They're another team that went 1-1 this week. Colorado State 2-0 this week, jumped up to 26, 4 spots. In New Mexico 2-0 this week, including a win over Utah State, which was my number 15 team last week. Jumping up, so New Mexico jumping up 7 spots. So 24, 25, 26, 27, all Mountain West teams. Which one of these teams are going to separate themselves from the rest? I'm not sure any of them will. I think that it is going to be this close for the rest of the season, and I am down for it because I love watching Mountain West basketball this year. It has been super entertaining. As you can see, we'll go and talk about one of my teams to watch, Boise State. Been absolutely killing it. Beat San Diego State this past week, but they lost to UNLV, which UNLV hit Mountain West Conference play and have been on an absolute mission, man. UNLV, the ultimate spoiler for a lot of these teams. And Colorado State actually did beat them at home. That's a very hot UNLV team, so very impressive by them. And yeah, all 4 of these teams super close right now. Let's see if any of them can separate themselves from the rest. But any combination of these 4 teams, Boise, when they're playing each other, even UNLV right now, the way they're playing, tune in to the games because it is going to be an absolute treat. Number 28, we have Kansas State jumping up 4 spots. 2-0 week in the Big 12, including a win over Baylor and I think Oklahoma State. So pretty good week for them. Let's see if they can keep it up. Definitely believe they are a top 35 team for sure. They have all the talent to do so. And Jerome Tang is an excellent head coach. Number 29, we do have Utah Utes. Our first team that was not ranked last week. Coming in here at number 29. Looking very solid. 2-0 week in the Pac-12. I think Utah might be the second best team in the Pac-12, just behind Arizona, and it's either between them, Oregon, Colorado, Washington State. I feel good about Utah right now. I feel like talent-wise, I like Colorado as the second best team in the Pac-12, but right now, as far as the way they're playing, I like Utah. So they're coming in here at number 29. Number 30, we do have Gonzaga, also not ranked last week after they did lose last week to Santa Clara. 2-0 week in the West Coast Conference. They're back in the rankings here at number 30. I don't really know what to think about the West Coast Conference this year. I think it's probably going to be a one-bid league. It's them or St. Mary's, as it always is. And I think only one of them is going to make the tournament this year, so kind of crazy. Wouldn't surprise me if a team came out of nowhere, maybe a Santa Clara, won the West Coast Conference tournament. That would be awesome to see somebody else make the tournament. other than Gonzaga and St. Mary's would be awesome. Shout out to the San Francisco Dons because they have made the tournament as a at-large bid a couple times recently, but you guys know what I mean. At least as far as winning the conference tournament, it's been Gonzaga. Next up, TCU dropping 9 spots, 0-2 week in the Big 12. Some tough games. Still think they're a Power 35 team. Let's see if they can bounce back. 32 not ranked last week. Appalachian State playing absolutely fantastic basketball. I think they're the favorites in the Sun Belt. You know, I've been pretty high on James Madison this year. Appalachian State beat James Madison. And Appalachian State also has a win over my number 4 team earlier in the year in Auburn this year. So, yeah, Appalachian State, they have a quad 1 win. And they're playing great right now in the Sun Belt. Trust me, guys, I watch a lot of Sun Belt. I am a WVU fan, but I'm also a secondary Marshall fan. I love watching Sun Belt basketball. Appalachian State looks very good, and I have them here number 32 this week. 33, we do have St. Mary's. Talked about Gonzaga already. St. Mary's had a rough start to the season, but recently they've been playing very, very good. They're getting back on track, and they have some early season wins over some pretty decent teams as well. So, you know, St. Mary's up here back in the rankings at 33, like we all thought that they might be preseason. Got off to a rough start. A lot of people, including myself, kind of forgot about them. Start watching some St. Mary's game. Oh, shoot. They're playing pretty good. Gales back in the rankings, number 33. Number 34, another team that started off kind of disappointing. Turning it back up a little. They're back on a 3-game win streak in the Big Ten. Their loss before that was a close game against Illinois. And Illinois is my number 12 team in the country. So, took a close loss to Illinois, then won 3 straight. Getting back on track. I need Sparty to keep rolling. Get another 2-0 week this week. And they will be back close to the top 25. They have a top 15 roster in the country easy. Maybe even a top 10 roster in the country. Along with Tom Izzo as their head coach. They need to get it together. They're back in the rankings this week, 34. Let's see if they can keep climbing. Number 35, only 1 loss on the season for them this year. It is the Princeton Tigers. And, yeah, what can you say? They're 15-1 or 16-1, something like that. Absolutely killing it. It made the Elite 8 last year as a 15 seed. Killing it, man. Killing it, man. Coach of Princeton. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. You got to think he might be getting some Power 6 level head coaching offers here soon. I mean, the way he is coaching, he is killing it. Teams to watch. Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon fell on my rankings this week because they did take a loss to Seattle University this week. Bad loss, but only their 2nd loss on the season. We'll see if they can bounce back. So they fall on my rankings, but my top team to watch. Villanova, 0-2 week in the Big East, but 2 very, very close games, including a 1-point loss to my number 1 team, UConn. Nebraska falls out of the rankings, 1-1 week in the Big Ten. They could easily make it back. They're a very, very great team. You could argue they are definitely a Power 35 team. Very close for me, very close. St. John's, I do think is a top 35 team in the country probably, but 0-2 week in the Big East. Gotta fall out. I mean, they were already like 31, 30, somewhere in there last week. To go 0-2, you got to fall out. Boise State. Boise State was a team that I thought I was going to put in the rankings this week, but then they lost at home to UNLV. Then they go and beat San Diego State. Like, Mountain West is crazy. Boise is right there, though. I feel like they're the 5th best team in the Mountain West, just behind, Utah State, San Diego State, Colorado State, New Mexico. They're right there, man. They're right there. Boise, definitely a team to watch. James Madison, my other team from the Sun Belt to watch, along with Appalachian State. They're right there, man. And honestly, Appalachian State beat James Madison. That's why they're ranked, and James Madison is not. Indiana State, I really like Indiana State this year. The Sycamores, they are hooping. Love to see it. Northwestern, a very good team in the Big Ten. Got to get some consistency, and they'll be in the rankings. Mississippi State from the SEC. I think they are a pretty good team. They could easily find their way into the rankings with the 2-0 week. Alabama, pretty good team in the SEC. Again, just like Mississippi State, 2-0 week this week. They could find themselves in the rankings. Wake Forest is a team that I think is pretty good, but then they go and lose to a team they shouldn't in the ACC. So if Wake Forest can build some consistency, they could easily see the rankings. Cincinnati, another team in the Big 12. There's so many good teams in the Big 12, but yeah, Cincinnati definitely deserves a mention here. But that's going to do it for this week's rankings. Let me know who's too high, who's too low, who did I snub. Let me know in the comment section. And yeah, guys, subscribe for more college basketball content. And I'm out.